The Yamaha YZF R15 needs no introduction in our country. It's been over 1.5 decades that we've had this motorcycle with us in the 150cc space. This is the super sport version. Of course, the international versions exist with a similar format in 125cc, but we are here in India get a 150cc motor, and we've always waited for something like this from Yamaha because with the previous three versions there's something missing or the other, but this time it has what it takes to be the number one in the minds of the critics and the enthusiast, because it has everything, and it's addressed a lot of complaints, lot of issues, and a lot of requirements that we had which were not fulfilled till today. The version 4 has it all, and as always, it begins with the design. The R series of motorcycles have always followed throughout the world the same design language, and here is no exception. We see it in line with the new R7 phase that we saw, and now it has gone to the R1 as well, and now you can see it on the R15 here as well. The single pod headlight here with the halogen, which is an LED unit. Let me start it for you. As you can see, there are LED DRLs here, and this is the main projector lamp. The lights, illumination and spread is pretty good, much better than before, definitely better than the version 3. At the side you can see it's got a very nice sporty looking fairing. It's got these vents on the inside, and the outside also has a very nice big cut to it, making it very sporty. There's also a gap here to make, I think all of that is always done to make sure the engine is cooled rather well. And the exhaust somewhat stays similar to the version 3. You've got this bare minimum but rare hover, which I think should do the job in the range, but we'll have to ride it in the range to tell you more about that. At the back you've got this nicely done sort of tail tidy inspiration to a large extent, because all this is just plastic and everything else is located here, and that is of course the new tail lamps, which are LEDs, have multiple LEDs in them, which is great. This blue color with the blue alloys, and of course the golden shocks, USD shocks at the front, make it look very impressive. The R15 always has managed to grab attention on the road in the very early days of its sales, and this is catching even more attention. I've been fortunate enough to ride all 4 versions, and I can tell you this one is grabbing the most attention of the lot here. And you've got a very nice big screen here. The finish is much better than before. The build quality is also a huge improvement, and of course there is some aspects which could have been better, but nevertheless this is the forged clip-on, and that is, let me just restart it for you. That's how the meters start. It's got a whole host of features. It has everything what it takes to be a 2021 motorcycle. You can see the gear shift indicator, and everything is controlled via these buttons here. So that is for the trip, odo, and the other button lets you go through average fuel efficiency, average speed, traction control is here, battery voltage is here, coolant temperature is here, and you have a track timer, of course, like we mentioned in our launch report. And that's the fuel gauge, that's the time, and full digital instrument cluster which has everything on offer. The new button here also makes things better for start stop. There is also the introduction of the hazard light switch that we can see here, which is a welcome move, and this is the high beam and low beam button. It also equals up as a pass button, so there is no thing here, and it makes things easier. Of course you have got the double horn from Yamaha, as always we've seen it in the R15, and like I told you about the paint, the finish, the quality, it's gotten much better than before. The version 3 had some issues, this one does not. Of course some panel gaps could have been better, and but we still give it, in terms of quality, 9 out of 10, because it's been screwed really well in major areas, and there's no sign of you being disappointed at first glance. And yeah, that's let me just run you through the hardware that is on offer. You've got a front wheel which is from front tire which is from MRF, and it's a 100 section tire on the 17-inch wheel, and here you have a 140/70 section tire, and this is of course the low profile rounded tires that we're seeing from MRF. And I think this is the first time that we've had our go on the FX1 series of the tire. So what it has new in terms of hardware is the addition of traction control. It has a segment first slipper clutch, it has a segment first quick shifter on it, and of course the addition of the golden upside down forks, the new switch gear, and yeah, now let's jump to the riding part. So before we start talking about the riding part, let me make you hear the exhaust note. So that is what the Yamaha R15 sounds like. It is the same motor when it comes to sound. So it's got a nice bass to it. It's got a very aggressive note once you start reaching the red line, and it's the same motor as the version 3. It's got VVA, but now the tuning has been done so well that this R15 feels absolutely complete. This engine is a 155cc motor making around 19 PS of power and 14 or 15 Newton meters of torque. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that makes it one of the most powerful 150cc bikes that you can buy in the country right now. It's an extremely smooth motor, it's an extremely refined motor, it's an extremely tactile motor. It's very difficult and very surprising to say, but it's a very flexible motor now because Yamaha has fixed the low end torque. They've got the VVA settings right, and now I don't have to rev it till 8000 RPM to get off the red line from the standstill, because it's got low end torque below 5000 6000 RPM, so I can almost short shift like a street naked bike, which we are riding a lot these days, which includes the adventure motorcycles as well. I don't need to rev it entirely to get off the line. Even with two people on board, or even with a heavy rider like me on road, I don't have to rev it very high. So that is the best part of the R15 here. It makes a lot of power and torque at the top end, and it's got good flexibility now at the low end as well, which is just caught us by surprise because how Yamaha has got it done so right. With the VVA post 6,500 RPM, this motorcycle shoots all the way till 11,000 RPM and makes a lot of power and torque over there. And even with a heavy rider like me, it reaches 130 kilometers an hour in absolute no time. You can easily clock 140 kilometers on this very easily, which is speedo indicated of course, and I'm pretty sure the GPS timings also should be in that segment because the previous R15s have done it. This will do it as well. It's a bit lighter and it's it's much better than before. It's got its aerodynamic side as well, so it should do that really well. Like I said, the engine is now an absolutely amazing thing to live with on a daily basis. In the last 4 days and 400 kilometers that we put on this motorcycle, we are really impressed with how this motorcycle behaves. When it comes to the engine, it feels a perfect mixture of the version 1 and version 2 that we rode earlier back in the days. And the version 2 had a lot of low end torque but did not have the top end, while the version 1 had a lot of top end power but did not have not that much low end torque. So it feels the perfect combination of version and version 2 with all the refinement on offer, more power, more horsepower, more torque, and more everyday usability, making this an R15 which is going to go in the books as one of the best R15s of all time. I don't know how Yamaha is going to make it better 5 years down the line. They don't need to exactly, they just need to give us more displacement and more power. But this is clearly the best R15 to have right now when it comes to riding experience. In fact, even the ergonomics and the driving and the riding and the chassis suspension setup is also very similar to before. So it gets the same perimeter frame, it gets the same monoshock at the back, but the front suspension, of course, USD, what it does is give you a lot of feedback on offer. There is a very good amount of feedback. It feels very stable, very planted, and it gives you feedback of what it's doing in the corners while you're making direction turns, and that much makes the riding experience on the road and even on the track should be downright fantastic. What Yamaha has also done is made the ergonomics better, so the rider has more space to stretch behind. So even a 6-footer person should push all the way back, get ducked in under the windscreen here, and should make this does make the bike more slippery with the rider on board. And that's a great move by Yamaha yet again, listening to feedback very seriously and getting it done right on the same platform. It takes a lot of effort if I'm not wrong, and they've done it and it's done for the good. Of course, what that does is increase the length of the subframe, and that doesn't make it the hyper nimble bike that it was in the city. There's a tiny bit of extra effort over the version 2 or version 3 when you have to ride it in the city and make very critical slow speed turns, but it's bare minimum. I'm just nitpicking here because that's what it does, and I would just wanted to let you know more about it because that's what I experienced, is that the city riding is slightly 5% or 15% more than you expect it to be, because you have to carry the length of the slightly longer motorcycle, and it's not the weight, it's just the turning radius and the feel that you are maneuvering something bigger. The tires really good, they've been gripping really well. The confidence from there is good. The front brakes, they are good, but they feel very commuter, they don't feel very sporty. I think Yamaha should have opted for a Nissan caliper or something like that, because this Biber unit here feels very domestic and very commuterish at the lever at the top, and I think that could have been much better. The lever bite and the feel and the initial bite could have been much better, but of course there is a lot of power, there is dual ABS, and the brakes at the front and the also back work really well. I think that's it. That's what the Yamaha R15 is all about. It's just impressed us so much that we can't stop riding it, and we look forward to spending more time with it. Of course, the highlight of all of this is the fact that the pricing has gone up. You will almost end up spending just something under 2 lakh rupees on road for this, and that makes it a little bit expensive. It's around the 1.8 lakh mark given city to city, and that makes it slightly expensive motorcycle, but this has everything. This now has comfort, this now has practicality, it has the flexible engine. Of course, it's not entirely practical because of course it's a super sport, but then the revised ergonomics makes things much better for all types of riders, and that should make it the ideal bike for young aspiring racing enthusiasts. And in the world of naked motorcycles, adventure motorcycles, where you sit up and just go and enjoy the low and mid-range torque, and now top end as well, but here you are also getting that, but in a racing format where you have to bring the engine to extract maximum performance out of it, and when you do is extremely rewarding. So that racing part which all gets us excited for riding motorcycles is only experienced with motorcycles like the Yamaha R15, and that's what makes the R15 special as always. And now with this variant being a complete package, makes it a very good motorcycle, highly recommended motorcycle if you are going to get into racing in the future, or if you just love riding the R15 here. I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching our video. Make sure you like, share, and this video. If you still have some questions, put them in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time. Follow us on social media for everyday updates, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.